Yo, what's good in my boxing brothers and sisters? It's Major Key Monday again. You know what I'm saying? We got a lit panel today. We're not going to be throwing out any kind of links in the channel. Only certain guests get to talk, but everybody's able to throw some comments in the chat and talk to these special guests today. But of course, we want to make sure that everybody gets a question in. But we have to keep this in-house today because we got some great people on the panel today, and we have to make sure that we partake in their time with respect that's due. We got certain people. So of course, Mark Nash streaming it from his channel. Everybody salute on Mark Nash's channel. We got my brother Troy Graham in the building. You know what I'm saying? The peacemaker up in the building. And then we have our brother, salute to you, brother Glen Johnson. Wagwan, brethren.
Respect.
Wagwan.
Thanks for having me, man.
No, thank you for showing up, brother.
For sure, for sure.
That's facts, man. So Mr. Ring Magazine, what was that, 2003? Mr. Ring Magazine?
2004.
2004. My apologies, man. Great resume. I'm not even going to start talking about it yet, you know what I mean? Because I want you to get into your stories and all of that. But the first question I want to ask before we start splitting this up in the panel, tell us about what brought Glen Johnson into boxing. How did you start? How did you stay?
Well, I mean, I was 20 years old and becoming a fat boy and wanted to find a gym to work out in and stuff. So I heard rumors that there was some construction that was happening in a building, and I heard rumors that it was going to be a boxing gym. So I walk in there and ask them what's happening here, and they say it's a PAL. They under construction. It's going to be open in about a month. So I say I will be back, and the guy told me that it will be free if you live in the community and you're under a certain age group, and free and the age group works for me. So all of that was in my budget. So a month time when they opened, I was there and signed up and start training. And the trainer told me that he liked what he sees and got me excited. And I sparred for the first time. I thought it was impossible to do. I mean, but as my brain was telling me that this is impossible, there's no way anybody can do this. As I look in the ring, I see other guys doing it. So that made me have to challenge myself to step up and have a different mindset. And
Right.
one that, man, it's been a blessing.
So what is it? Was it that nobody could do it because you had such great power, or was it because you said you were a fat boy with too much bun and cheese? Which one was it?
Well, it was a little bit of both.
That's why I like Glen. That's why I like Glen. He keep it rugged. You know what I'm saying? That's what's up.
You know what I mean? Obviously, I got married when I was 18 years old. So I was eating the good food and having the good life. A lot of curry, goat and chicken and all kind of stuff. And like you said, bun and cheese and everything. That we Jamaican people love to eat. So yeah. After I started getting a little chubby, I didn't like it. So I wanted to make sure that I shake it off. So then I walk in the gym and start training and stuff and end up finding a career.
Respect. Yo, I'm sorry, Troy, go ahead and then Mark. After go ahead, man.
Okay. How you doing, Glenn? How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. I'm hanging in, brother. What's going on with you?
Good. You know what? You had a wonderful career, man. It was some rough times in there. I was gonna ask you, how did you keep that positive, strong, character of yours? Because you had some times where you got robbed in boxing. Like I think it was was it the Cloud fight? It was the Cloud fight and the Chad Dawson fight, right? Those two fights. You want to speak on that, on how you stayed so positive?
Yeah, those are two of many fights that I got robbed in. The Dawson fight, it's very crushing. because I know Dawson was a young, talented guy that was coming up, and I beat him in that first fight, and that was supposed to be a win that ended up on my resume, and it ended up being a loss. So that was unfortunate, but you have to stay strong, because at the end of the day, if you don't stay strong, you're the person who suffer from that, from being weak and fall to the wayside, or not having a career because of your mentality wasn't strong enough to keep pushing. So I had to I wasn't gonna let them decide my career for me, you know what I mean? So I had to keep a strong mentality and focus and go back. And unfortunately, the rematch, he was much smarter in the rematch, and he was able to win that going away with no problem. And then the Tavares Claude fight, that was a fight that happened here in Florida. And, I mean, anybody who saw that fight know that I won the fight. It's just,
Stevie Wonder knows you won that fight. That's how clear the fight was.
exactly.
Facts.
It was an unfortunate situation. So it is what it is, man. I mean, I can't let, because these people are blind, or because they don't want to give me my just due. I'm gonna sit back and go into a depression, or whatever else you wanna call it. I mean, I have felt bad at times. There were many times when I feel like not doing it anymore, but I have to talk to myself in those moments and said, if I don't do it anymore, who am I teaching a lesson? Am I teaching the judges a lesson? Am I teaching boxing a lesson? Or I'm the one who gonna lose out? So I just stick with pushing on with my career.
Right. And then you had the great win that pushed you into the spotlight with Roy Jones. Tell us what that feeling was after you know that you actually stopped him and they waved off the fight. What's the first thing that came through your mind? Like, did you really believe it, or how did you actually feel after all that?
No, I mean, the first thing that came to mind was I did it. Because this was a fight that I talked about many years before, before I even believe I would get such a fight. I was telling my friends that I would beat Roy Jones if I get a chance to fight him. And these are guys who, all of us are big Roy Jones fan anyway, because we've been watching Roy for a long time, and all of us are big Roy Jones fan, including myself. So yeah, they mark me. They say, man, if you fight Roy Jones, he will kill you. He will this. He will that. So Jamaican guys, once you talk trash, you have to back it up. So once I got the Roy Jones fight,
Yes.
I was very, very excited, and making sure that I did everything that I said I would do. I would train hard. I was in tip top shape, because one, I know the kind of competitor he is, and I know the kind of fight that I have to fight to beat him. Because I always thought if you can keep continuous pressure on Roy Jones, he would break. He's not the type of fighter who stays set and stay ready to go. He's a pop shot fighter where he still torque three quick punches, and then he's looking to rest, reset, and then he throw his flashy punches again and reset, and taking, and all of those reset, he's taking a break because he used so much energy to throw those fast power punches. It takes a lot out of you. So I figure if I could stay on top of him, um, that would take away our fatigue him early. And so yeah, that was my game plan going in, and it worked. So once the knockout happened, yeah, it was a big relief. Now I have bragging rights over my friends that been bragging on me all this.
Respect, respect. So Mark, my
Man.
brother Mark is also in the building. He's streaming from his channel as well. So you're being seen on two different platforms. So Mark, what are your questions, man?
Well, first and foremost, thanks again for the opportunity, Major Key. And thank you again, Troy. Hey, Mr. Glenn Johnson. My name is Mark Nash from Breaking the Beats. Thank you again for taking the time out your day to talk to Major Key, Troy, and I. I want to segue off of something you just said. You was talking about the Roy Jones victory. A lot of people don't know you fought 4 times that year. If I'm not mistaken, was it 3 or 4 times? But you had a busy year. You had beat Clinton Woods in a split. No, you got a draw. Then you got a unanimous decision.
Right.
So now you're the IBF champ, right?
Right.
You fight Roy Jones for the IBF.
Right.
You turn around in less than 3 months. You're back in the ring fighting Antonio Tarver.
Yes.
And you beat him.
Yes.
Amazing. So my question is this. Man, you got to feel like you're on top of the world. Unstoppable. But here's the thing. That fight, I'm looking at it right here, that fight with Tarver wasn't a unification. Why is that? You beat Drones for the IBF, but you faced Tarver for the IBO.
Yeah, so good question. This is the first time I get asked this question by a lot of people.
Switch.
Didn't know that. Yeah, so I won the IBF title, but for me to get the Tarver fight, Tarver wanted me to vacate the title that I won because he wanted to be the only champion in the fight. So that was an agreement that I had to agree to get the Tarver fight. So he was the WBC champion, and the WBC wanted him to fight the #1 contender for the WBC title, and he didn't want to fight that guy because he was somebody that nobody knows. So he vacated the WBC. He said he would vacate the WBC if I vacated the IBF, and then we would only fight for the IBO, and then we agreed to that, and so he was the champion going into that fight, and I was a challenger.
So it sounds like Tarver and the WBC messed up that unification. The WBC was pushing the mandatory.
I would say the WBC. I mean, I don't know if Tarver, because I wouldn't say Tarver. I think it's just the WBC. They have their mandate that they wanted their #1 contender to compete for their title. So I would figure, I mean, I would say it's their rules because that's how it was put to me. So I have to go by what was told to me. So I would have to say the WBC is the person behind that.
So WBC was still at their games back then. But why did Tarver say I have to be the only champion? Wouldn't that have been great for him to come in as the well, he wouldn't have, was he the current IBO?
He had to vacate the WBC. I didn't have to vacate my IBF, but he didn't want me to come in as a champion while he had to vacate his WBC to fight me. So he said, him and his camp, I don't know, but it was put to me that for me to get that fight, I had to vacate my IBF title. So
was the IBO vacant at the time?
No, he was already the champion for that.
Right, so he would have been the IBO champ facing the IBF champ.
Well, but he didn't want me to come in as a champion. So, he to come in as a challenger just for his title, because I guess, I don't know, it could have been a unification for both titles, like you said. But yeah, he obviously he didn't want me to have a power position, so he wanted to be the guy who will have the title. So we vacated and we got the title and we whooped that ass and took his title.
Right. Go back to you, Major Key.
Yeah, man. Listen. So I want to talk about, because he mentioned a couple names. Martin Nash mentioned a couple names, but man, people don't realize the resume that you have. A lot of these up and coming stars, they had to fight you, and no matter what, they had to deal with a tough fight. No matter how much along your career, they don't remember about the Tavares class, the Lucien Buttes, all these people that became stars. They had to go through you at some point.
Oh yeah, I mean, I took on all. I never felt no one could beat me. So when their name came up, It was an opportunity to fight. I jumped on those opportunities because I always felt like I could come out of that fight as a victorious. Some of them don't go my way. Some of them was robbery. Some of them I got beaten. But nevertheless, that was my path. That's the road I took, and I'm very proud of it.
We're proud of you as well. You know what I'm saying? This is why you have this platform today. We wanted to make sure that people appreciated that. I was going to ask you about your training and all that stuff, but I think I want to ask a broader question because this will kind of capture and move along the segment. Because I can ask a question about, your most difficult training, your most difficult puncher and all of that, right? But what I want to ask you is, at this point, what's the biggest difference between what's going on right now in boxing versus what was going on when you were boxing? Because you see a lot of people, oh, we're best friends, we can't fight. Oh, he talked too bad about me, so I don't want to fight. Like what's going on with this certain time with boxing? You see, you smiling because you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a different time now. I mean, people are much more sensitive now and all of that stuff. I mean, I feel like for me, boxing was about competition. So, it's either you embrace the competition or you don't. Because for me, I could fight my brother, my cousin. I could fight any person in boxing because I know that it's a competition. It's not like I have ill will. It's not like I have a grudge. It's not like if I have to fight an opponent I didn't like, I wouldn't care about any of that. I fight him anyway, just the same, because I embrace the competition, and I think people, a lot of these guys are in any sport, or any one of these people who don't embrace competition, that's where they run into problems, because it's either you don't believe in your skills or you do. And when you believe in your skills, that's when you're willing to put that on any platform, because you just don't, you just can't imagine or see or think of or see how you can fail, because your confidence is just so high.
Right. So I'm gonna let my after this Troy Graham, of course, because he's next to follow up on this. But I'm gonna ask you a question. Remember in Living Color back in the days, in Living Color, the show, right?
Yeah,
So
that's
you that guy that be like, listen, what you mean you got one job? Me got four jobs. Me a tailor, a boxer, me a masseuse, a chef, a
exactly.
pianist.
Listen, I can run off some of those names myself, right? While I was boxing, I was also a bouncer. I was also a carpenter, and at the same time a boxer. So, I mean,
That's facts, man. People don't know about that. But okay, man, my bad. Troy, go ahead, man. Follow up.
True, yo, you say you was definitely a true yardie, man, and a hard worker. Respect to you, man. Respect. Yeah, you said you were what, a tailor, Glen, a carpenter, what, a mechanic, and what else, man?
well, not a mechanic, not a tailor, but I did some bouncing on the weekends while I was doing carpenter work, while I was training for boxing. And I it was said earlier, I went to England, I fought Clinton Woods, and I won the title, the IBF title, and came back to my construction job as a world champion. The person wanted to interview me, a reporter wanted to interview me, and I tell them that I was at work. They couldn't believe it. They came to my job to see me on the job site to actually believe it. They had to see it with their own eyes. But I wouldn't give up my job um, that easily, because I gave up my job when I fought Bernard Hopkins and had to go back to work. So I told myself the next time I give up my job, I had to be comfortable financially, that I never had to go back to work again. So that's what I did.
Yes, sir. You know what? know what I want to ask you, man? This is you have so many fighters today that say, well, I can't fight because I don't have enough time to fight and I didn't get enough time for prepared. Go ahead and explain. I'm sure you have a story about how they called you at the last minute, but you just took the fight anyway because you were in shape because that is part of your job, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, I stayed in the gym. I've never not trained. I train every day to prepare, and I work every day. Like I said, construction as a carpenter. I work from 7 in the morning to 3:30. I a lot of times they want me to do overtime, and I told them no because I have to go to the gym. So I never really do overtime work on this construction site. So and I go take a shower, go to the gym. I be in the gym around 5 o'clock or so, and I train and go do my run, come back, take a shower and go to bed. And that was my life for 20 years. I don't go out and party. And on the weekends, like I said, I was doing bouncers work where I would go be a bouncer for Friday and Saturday night in South Beach because I live here in Miami. So, when somebody tell me that they don't have time for this and time for that, it all depends on how badly you want something. A person say they don't have time to do what they supposed to do to elevate their life, then that's tell me where they are and trying to elevate their life mentally. So, I don't really put too much into it more than I just know that's the person that doesn't have the drive to get to a next place.
All right. All right. Go ahead, Mark. Go ahead,
Hey,
man. Good.
thank you.
And
Hey,
then after Mark, listen, after Mark, we got another brother in the building, Rap Star. You got a gentleman over here from the UK that wants to talk to you as well.
hey,
Uh,
Mr. Johnson, your toughest fight, simple as that. Who was your toughest fight, and were they your toughest fight because they hit the hardest, or they were just so elusive? They just seemed like they never got tired. What was your toughest fight?
my toughest fight is Bernard Hopkins, and I just felt like his experience that he had at that time, the experience I had at that time, were just so far apart. In that moment while the fight was happening, I thought he was in my head. He was reading my mind because everything that I tried to do is like he knew it. He was able to, get away from it. He was able either to block the punch or slip the punch or counter the punch. But now that I got more experience, I know that I was more than likely telegraphing my punch, what I'm about to do. That's why he was able to read it. And but in the moment when I was fighting him, I didn't have the experience to know the mistakes that I was making. But later on in my career, I pick up those knowledge, and that's how, because I started to do those things to other people when they would make those mistakes. So I was able to understand what he was doing at that time when I fought him.
Was he the hardest hitter though, or
No, no, no. He's not.
who was that?
Oh, but the hardest hitter that I fought is first. Yeah,
Who? I'm sorry, you broke up.
Tavares Cloud.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, and this will be my last one. How do you feel about these YouTubers and athletes that are not boxers getting into boxing with apps like Triller? Yeah, they're making a lot of money, but some of these guys are getting hurt real bad out there. How do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, I always said that a man have the right to take whatever risk he wants to with his life because it's his. So, and I don't really grudge any person on how they get their fame. Boxing, I realize that not so much the skills of boxing is what appreciated by the crowd, by the audience of who support boxing. They basically want to support stars. So if the YouTubers they bring fresh eyes to boxing, I'm not going to complain because hopefully they will come to watch the YouTubers, and they will see some boxing talent, and they will get hooked and stay, and don't just watch the YouTubers and go away. So that's my hope for that. And like I said, if a man is making an honest living, I don't really have any issues with him, because therefore I don't have to worry about getting out my car in the parking lot and looking over my shoulder for him coming up behind me. So I don't begrudge any man that's making an honest. If somebody's willing to pay for it, then do it.
I think Major Key has a question from the chat. Then we're gonna go to Rap Star,
Oh,
and also somebody has their mic unmuted while we're talking. It's kind of picking up. Go ahead, Major Key.
It's Rap Star. He has to mute his mic.
It's all good. We're gonna move to Rap Star after this. Lisa Bales, queen of the YTBC. She has a question. She says, "I have a question, Mr. Johnson. Was Montel Griffin a tough fight because he's really crafty?"
yeah, Montel Griffin is a very, very, very tricky. He had me guessing for a little bit when we fought. In the first couple of rounds, I was a little puzzled on some of the things he was doing to make me miss, and then I caught on to what he was doing, and I was able to put it to bed. But yeah, he's very tricky, very crafty. He's a smart fighter.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, we're going to move on to Rap Star, and salute to everybody in the chat. By the way, I'll talk to you guys later. But right now, Rap Star, go ahead, man.
Yeah, what are you saying over there, man? Everybody out there?
Yeah, from across the pond, my brother from the UK. Yeah. He likes a nice introduction, Mr. Rap Star in the building.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming, Glen Johnson. I've been following you for years, man. How you feeling there, my brethren?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Thanks for having me, man. It is what it is, brother.
Yeah, man. I remember you fought many of my countrymen. I remember the first
Yeah.
countryman you fought was Clinton Woods. Remember him?
Yeah. Nah, England been good to me. I came over there and fought a lot.
George Groves, Carl
Yeah,
Froch. I mean,
yeah.
towards the end of your career, you did fight a lot of my countrymen, and I gotta say, you were always known as one of the toughest in that division. Everybody
Yeah,
knew that
well,
Glen Johnson was one of the toughest, and
yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah,
say
man.
this. Sorry, go ahead, Glen.
Yeah, and I mean, I have to represent. I mean, I come when you're in a foreign country, you have to fight harder, because you have everybody against you. You have the audience, the judges, the fighter who you're fighting. Everything is against you, so you're in a strange place. So you can't look for favors. You just have to go in and just fight hard and just convince everyone that you won the fight. And it's a hard thing to do, because we all know how people are. They have no mercy at times. So it's a difficult task, but it's one that I always take on.
Well, I gotta say this, right, Glen, and I'm sure you might agree with Rapstar on this. I think some of your biggest glory days, would you agree, was when you was a big underdog with Roy Jones, and you proved the world that you were still one of the most biggest threats in the division when you knocked out Roy Jones. Was that one of your most glorious days of boxing when you raised your hands after that victory?
Oh, definitely. I mean, like I said earlier, Roy Jones is one of my favorite fighter. And I have a lot of friends who love Roy Jones and believe in him. They even believe that he would beat me and everything. So, and they're my friends. So, it is what it is. But you have to believe in yourself. It doesn't matter who believe in you or who don't believe in you. If you don't believe in yourself, then that's where everything will fall apart. You know what I mean? So you have to be concrete with that. Doesn't matter what you're doing, what your profession is, or whatever. You have to believe in yourself that you can take that to the highest level. And once you have that belief, then you can take on any challenges that's in your way.
Now, the other thing I wanted to say is that you not only did it with Roy Jones, you did it with Tarver. You went on and beat Tarver after Roy Jones. You made a legacy. You beat two of the most biggest names at the time when they were big threats for the division. And that must have been another victory for you, that you must have felt you achieved what you wanted to achieve out of boxing.
Yeah, I mean, I feel real good in that moment. I mean, I felt like I was the guy in the light heavyweight division. And that's those fights also helped give me fighter of the year. So that proved my point, and that put the stamp on it that I was the guy in that moment.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, by the time I get to that stage, because I started boxing when I was 20 years old, so by the time I got to that stage, I was already older. I was in my late 30s. So it happened, and right after that, it started to fall apart.
Well, look, at the end of the day, you always will be a warrior for us. You know what I mean? You showed us that you not only did conquer in boxing, you proved to the world you are one of the best. You know what I mean? So I will say this. I got another question before I pass it on. And I want you, you can answer it as humble as you can. Behind the scenes of boxing, was the business of boxing kind to you or was it cruel to you? Did you find it hard or was there a lot of politics? When you wanted to make fights, was there a lot of things blocked? Like, do you see the boxing business as a dirty business or do you think it was good to you?
Well, for me personally, I just believe that there was a lot of roadblocks. That's the reason why I have so much bad decision in my career. So I had to take chances, take the risk that most people didn't want to take. So I take them because I believe in myself and my skills, and I felt like that was the pathway for me. Because when people don't want to take fights, then it open opportunity for the person who will take the fight. So I was that guy. So um you can look at it in a lot of different ways. I wouldn't say boxing was cruel to me. Obviously, the politics of boxing is there for sure.
Mm.
But I make it what I could. I make what I could make out of it. With all of the challenges that was there for me, I still make the best of it. So, I want to look at that as a positive. I'm not going to look at it as a negative that could have been.
Okay. And I'm sure, is there any advice for a young fighter coming up? You have any advice for them? What's the best thing for the fighter to do and how they
Well,
should conduct themselves? And maybe, you might have some advice where you learnt from that so you can share it with the people.
Well, the only thing that I would say to a young fighter, one, you gotta learn, you gotta work on your skills, because that's what wins fights. You have to make sure that you know what you're doing, um, and once you know what you're doing, then you can go out and do it anywhere. Um, and then the next thing, again, market yourself real hard, because that is one of the reasons why the YouTube guys now can come into boxing without not knowing a lot of boxing, but they are famous YouTubing and making themselves a star, and they can come into boxing and make a lot of money with one or two fights. So you definitely need to do that. That was not something that I was good at, because I always thought like I would let my fighting do my talking. And that would be something I would change if people ask me if I would change anything in my career, and I always said no. But now that I have more time to think about it, that would be the only thing I would change in my career. I would market myself a lot more, um, and try to capitalize on some of these. these outside startup guys who can
Troy,
come.
Troy, go ahead and introduce, brother. Go ahead, Troy.
I'm
We have
sorry,
another.
brother. I was doing some work on the back end.
No, I
How you
said.
doing? How you- mhm.
Go ahead. No, I was saying.
Yeah, Glenn. Yeah, Glenn. We have someone here who'd like to speak to you, man. You know, Jonathan Felton, man. Let me get out this kitchen here because of that humming. Yeah, you know, he's good friends with Riddick Bowe, and he's well known in the. You know, he's definitely well known in the business, man. And I'm sure you two know each other. I'm sure you know each other.
Riddick Bowe is down here. I seen
What
Riddick
what
Bowe,
what
like
Matthew? That's
about
Matthew. What?
6 or 7 months ago.
What go on, Glen? We are dealing with, man. What?
Why nothing on going? I'm here, man, taking it easy, watching some NBA playoffs. What's going on with you, bro?
Man, yo, right now everything Chris over here, so we just cool
Bless.
out and all them things that seen.
Bless. Where you there? Which part you located?
Me there upon Orlando.
Oh, you didn't know. I'm coming to Orlando, and I'm coming to Orlando.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah, yeah,
Respect.
yeah. I got a fight, a heavyweight that's fighting in Orlando.
Yeah, man. Me and really both there upon Tampa, so you know we just pass through and all them things that seen.
Oh, see. All right, I got you.
Yeah, man. So everybody, I just want to say, man, Glen Johnson, man, you know what I'm saying, rough and tough, man, rough and tough like Bojo, for real. But Glen, everybody know, man. They say, you know what I'm saying, Antonio Tarver, you know, Tarver couldn't, you know what I'm saying, you know, Tarver's he good person, you know what I'm saying, for us talking, but yo, he couldn't do nothing with you.
Oh yeah, I mean, Tabo, all right. You know, I've been around here since I retired, so you know we're cool. You know, he's still trying to make some noise in boxing, so I wish him all the best.
Bless.
Hold on
Yeah,
one second
man.
for me, Jonathan.
Yes.
You have like a clicking in your phone. You know, can you jump off and jump back in for us?
Okay.
Okay, Brendan. Thank you. Okay, now, Glenn,
Yeah.
I know you're training now. You have any fighters you wanna tell us about that's coming up that you're working with?
Yeah, I mean, I have a heavyweight, Rafael Akajuri, Nigerian heavyweight, is 10-0 with 10 knockout. He's fighting in Orlando next month on the 11th. And we're looking forward to that fight. That will be his 11th fight. We're hoping to go up there and be victorious. And then I'm promoting a show July 10th locally here in Miami. And that he's also going to be on that card as well. And I have a junior welterweight. His name is Courtney Jackson. He's 19-1. A pretty good fighter. You know, we're looking to get into some major fight very soon. So those are my two guys that up front. I have some other guys who like 1-0 and 2-0, and some guys who's waiting to make their debut and stuff like that. You know, because you know I'm taking all of these guys from scratch. I don't have anybody coming from the Olympics or anything like that. All of my fighters, I start them from scratch where they never threw a punch before, and teaching them. So they're on their way.
Okay. Okay. You, you know
Yeah,
what? I actually
I
reached
don't.
out to you about something and has, huh?
No, I was gonna say I'm gonna add another brother because I don't see him jumping back in the building. So we have somebody else backstage. So I want to make sure that everybody gets a chance because you know I appreciate Glenn's time. You know, and I want to make sure that whoever's a fan wants to get the question. And you know, so let's make sure though that anybody that's not speaking to Glenn mutes ourselves, and that's what we do, man. Welcome to the
Okay.
welcome to channel Shadow Ghost. And then after that, Mark, I think who was next? Rapstar or Mark? I can't even remember.
Me. You know, I actually didn't get a chance to finish what I was going to
Okay,
speak to
my bad.
Glenn
Go
about
ahead.
real quick. Yeah, Glenn, you know, I was doing my research and I realized the country does not have a Hall of Fame. The country being Jamaica, that's where we're from and all that. It does not have a Hall of Fame for boxing, man.
Really, I didn't know.
So you know, yeah, it doesn't. As far as I know, we don't have a Hall of Fame for boxers. So you know, I'm reaching out to you and a couple other fighters I know, and I want to see if I get that process started of trying to get it, one actually built in the country because I don't. I'm pretty sure we don't have a Hall of Fame for boxers.
Wow. I didn't know that, man. That's about that. I mean, it should be time now. We have a lot of great fighters that pass through. So, I mean, they
Yeah,
need
more
to
than
create,
enough. More than enough.
is a lot of monies that these people can, they can put together and create something like this. So we have a legacy.
Okay. Hey, my question was this. I'm at, and then we'll go
Yes,
to
sir.
Shadow Ghost, right? I'm not familiar if you familiar with Glovegate, Mr. Johnson, but it was a lot of talk about Deontay. Go ahead. There's a lot of talk about possibly some people are saying Tyson Fury's gloves were loaded. He possibly cheated. I think they said maybe Deontay's Wilder coach might have spiked the water. What do you say to claims like that about gloves being loaded or sliding off to make a slapping motion, egg weights in the glove, spike water? Whether I want to know, do you believe those claims? And two, in the year 2021, what can we do to clean up our sport? We shouldn't even be having those kind of conversations.
Yeah, I mean that's very sad if any of that is true. That would be a sad situation that you have to spike water. That mean you just don't believe in your fighter. If you're having gloves that's loaded, that's saying you don't believe in your fighter. You don't. If the fighter did it, then he don't believe in himself. And I'm a guy who is a total believer that you need to believe in yourself and think that no man can beat you, that you get on the scale and he's similar weight as you are, then he should not able to compete with you. And if you have to do something dirty, we need to get those people out the sport and as fast as possible. And as far as the claim is concerned, I never really, I mean, it's not up to me to know if it's true or not. I'm not even close to any of those activities. So I mean, it's hard for me to even have an opinion if it's a false claim or a real claim. I just know I never make excuses for a defeat. I never make any high claim for a win. I just go out and do my job and take my loss or my victory and go home. And if I get robbed, I tell people that I get robbed and they can see for themselves. That.
Go ahead, Major Key.
Well, actually,
Yo.
it's on Shadow Ghost right now. We're waiting on him, and then we have somebody in the background as well. And we're getting a lot of people flowing in right now. It was shared already on a couple of channels. This link, so the viewers are starting to pop up right now. So go ahead, so we can let in Eight's money. So first, Shadow Ghost, you go ahead.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, of course. Yeah, we got you.
Hey,
And as a matter of fact, I'm gonna set this up so we can let more people in while you're talking. All right, so I'm gonna put myself on mute.
Yeah, I'm gonna be just real quick. I was watching your fight when you fought. I think it was Montel Griffin, and you was beating him to the body the whole fight, right? And I noticed something back then that I see now, and it's the announcers. Like when I was watching that fight, and you was like beating him bad, right? They were like, "Oh, he's not really doing like a bunch of nothing." You know what I mean? Like they were kind of biased back then a little bit, and then you stopped him. And then like I see that today sometimes, even with like I know like certain networks have fighters and stuff, and they kind of like promote them, but I think like there's a lot of bias sometimes with the broadcasters. Did you see that or notice that even back then when you was fighting?
Yes, because I mean the broadcasters, they're working for the network, and the fighter that's signed to that network, that's who the broadcaster is concerned about promoting. So they are saying everything positive about that fighter and not so much about the other fighter. Now, if both fighters are signed by that network, then you would have mostly a fear commentary, because the fighter is, both of those fighters are signed to that network. So I noticed that, and I know that from I was competing. So when I hear that commentary now, I know exactly what's happening. So I don't really let it bother me or anything.
Okay, and then thank you, I appreciate it. And just one last thing, I don't know why I always ask this, but I'm always curious. I see fighters that sometimes that they have problems with like making weight or sometimes. And what do you usually like when you make weight or whatever? What is usually the typical thing that you eat? Like, so let's say you've already made weight, you stepped on the scale and you're fighting the next day. Like I hear some fighters say they eat spaghetti for like energy, or like what would you usually eat that night if you're stepping into the ring the next day?
Yeah, well, for me it was pasta. I used to, I always go for the pasta, because that's what I was told that it was good for energy. So I always go for that. Um, and then you want to try not to eat anything with too much grease in it, because sometimes grease sits on your chest, it doesn't digest well. So you want to try to get those things as plain as possible. And it's easy to digest. So one of the next thing you want to do is get a lot of water to hydrate and stuff like that. So you hydrate properly, and so come fight night, you're kind of back to the weight that you would normally be.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
That's
All right.
what's up. Yo, Shadow goes full back for a minute, but you can click on the link after this, man. We have to
right.
let money in the building.
Okay, no doubt. I'll talk to you.
Hey, Major Key, let me ask a question, and I'll make room as well for somebody else. Yeah.
All right, just one question though, because we had him waiting back in the background for like 15 minutes. To be honest with you.
All right, go ahead.
Go ahead.
So,
Go ahead.
Glenn, it was nice. Glenn, it was nice chopping it up with you. So let me just say this, Glenn. In today's climax, you've seen the fighters we have today: the Jamal Charlos, the Demetrius Andres, the Canelo Alvarezes, the Kalen Plants. What do you think of these fighters today? And with Canelo Alvarez being the #1 pound for pound in many people's eyes, what do you think of him? And what do you think about the other fighters which were in that division now?
I mean, I like Alvarez. I believe he's a great fighter. I think he's one or probably top three, because I like Crawford a little better, and I like Spence a little better, but he's definitely one of the top three guys. I believe that he's the best guy in his division. I think
Mhm.
he's now like a super middleweight or something like that, or maybe middleweight. I'm not sure what weight class he's in, because he moves around so much. Um, so yeah, I mean, I don't really see anyone in the pipeline that I know of. Doesn't mean there is nobody there that ready to beat him right now, but
Mm.
I don't really see them. I don't know of them. Everybody that I know of, I don't think will beat him.
Hey, thanks for your answer, man. Respect.
Go ahead, H Money. You got the floor.
Yo, what's good? Shout out to Major Key Boxing. Thanks for having me. Shout out to the champion, Glen Johnson, the man that knocked out Roy Jones Jr., put him to bed, put him to sleep. This guy right here was a special fighter. His high guard defense was one of the best in boxing. Glen Johnson, thanks for coming here and spending time with the fans. I want to ask you now about your high guard defense. I know Winky Wright had a similar defense like you. Marlon Starlin. You see a lot of fighters nowadays using that same high guard. Could you tell me why you decided to use the high guard defense? What is so special about the high guard defense? What makes it the best?
Well, I mean, defense is about reaction, unable to see what the other guy is doing, what your opponent is doing. So for me, I always keep my hands high because what my eyes don't see, my hands will automatically catch if they're in the right place because the person is punching at your face. If the guard is in front of your face, a lot of the times those punches will run into the guard. So, and because I was a fighter who was a pressure fighter who want to stay close to fighters to do my damage, there's constantly punches that come in my way all the time. If you are a distant fighter who, if you're on the outside, then you don't have to have your eye guard up that much because there's a lot of low in the action where people is looking at each other. They're basically studying what is the next move they should do. When the way how I fight, there's not a lot of lows in the action. There's not a lot of time to think about what to do next. It's just straight fighting for 3 minutes and for 12 rounds. You know what I mean? So I felt like having my guard high and was blocking and slipping whatever my eyes were able to see. I could slip it, or what my eyes don't see, I was able to catch on the guard.
Would you say, like when you're on the inside and you're walking your opponent down and putting pressure on your opponent, the high guard defense is the best in that situation?
Oh, definitely. I mean, that's the reason why I do it. Yeah, you want to have your eye guard defense. So, your reaction time sometime might be off, and that's your second line of defense, having your hands high. So, um, yeah, and like I said, I'm a pressure fighter. I would like to stay close to my opponent because if they throw a punch, I want to capitalize on that opening. Because when you throw a punch, that's when you create openings. That person move their hand off their body. That's when you want to dig into those rib cages and stuff. So I like to stay close enough to do those damage.
Yes, sir. That's why I loved your style. That's why you were one of my favorite fighters. And now my last question is: you've been in the ring with Bernard Hopkins when you were a very young fighter, and he was young, and you've been in the ring with Roy Jones. Who you think was the better fighter? Who would you say?
Well, I mean, Bernard Hopkins is my toughest fight. And I think the main reason for that is because I didn't have the experience I needed at that time to compete with Bernard Hopkins. By the time I got to Roy Jones, I was already an experienced fighter that could fight anybody in the world. So Roy Jones was an easier fight for me because of the experience I now have behind my skills. So I don't think it's not a matter of I don't know if who was better or whatever. I think Bernard Hopkins aged better than Roy Jones. But yeah, I think, but just from experience standpoint, I think Bernard Hopkins was just a very difficult fighter for me to fight when I fought him.
For sure. Thank you, champion. Appreciate it. This is H Money. Thank you so much, brother.
And
All
listen, I appreciate that, H. So I mean, we have to respect the gentleman's time. So we do have Mad Chat up in the building, and then if y'all want to run back one last question, and then of course Glen Johnson, it's on you. We appreciate your time, of course. You know what I'm saying, because everybody's going to move to Mark Nash after this.
Mr. Johnson, the harder they come, the harder they fall. Much respect to the island of Jamaica, and much respect to the road warrior. You are a wingless angel. Glen Johnson, you were one of my favorite fighters. You were afraid to fight anybody at any time. And I just am so glad that you have your faculties, you have your life, and I think the best years are ahead of you, Mr. Johnson. And it's a privilege to see you here today. And thank you so much for stopping by. And it's just an honor to be here, Mr. Johnson. I don't have much to say other than the harder they come, the harder they fall, baby. Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate it. And yes, I try my best to play good defense in all of my tough fights. I believe I fought all of the best fighters in my era, and I still think I have my faculties. So thank you for recognizing that. I appreciate it.
And before we
Much
go to the last
respect.
questions, before we go to the
Yeah, hey,
last
Major
questions, I
Key.
want to
Major
make
Key,
sure that.
listen, bro.
Hold on.
Let
I
me
just
just say
want to make
this.
sure that everybody gets their names known to Glen Johnson. Mad Chad
Yeah,
Boxing
can I
has a
finish?
channel. You can subscribe to him. H Money has a channel. You can subscribe to him. Shadow Ghost 81 has a channel. You can subscribe to him. Rap Star Boxing Knowledge has a channel. You can subscribe to him. And Mark Nash also has a channel. You can subscribe to him. So besides that, go ahead, Rap Star.
Yo, anyway, Major Key, thanks for having me. Again, rap star from the other side of the pond. Another great interview. Glen Johnson, you be safe, man, and be healthy, bro. A warrior in the man. The man was a warrior. Everybody needs to recognize the young generation who doesn't know. This was a fighter who fought all comers. He fought everybody. And that's why, Glen Johnson, we won't get fighters like you anymore, because there's more politics now than what there was before. You know?
Thank you, man. I appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, and I hope to catch up with you soon, brother. You just keep it easy and keep it safe. I'm out of it, bro.
Thanks.
All right, brother. I appreciate you, man.
Peace.
So yeah, so that was Rap Star and Mad Chad that gave their final thoughts. Mark Nash or Troy Graham, because we're gonna move to Mark Nash after that. So Troy Graham, go ahead and give your final thoughts on Glenn.
Oh, brother, I just want to thank you again for your time, man. We definitely appreciate the time that you gave us, man. And we definitely appreciate you, and thank you for all the work you put in boxing. And as I always say, you know, you have a social media home now. So if you ever need to promote one of your fighters, or you have anything going on with yourself, we're simply a phone call, email, or whatever away, and I'll call in from time to time and check on you just to make sure. How about that?
All right, Troy. Thanks, man. I appreciate you, brother. You
Thank
stay
you,
safe.
man. Thank you.
All right.
And also
Bless.
the last thing, man, I'm going to be checking in with you to, you know, just to let you know the progress on this Hall of Fame back on the island, man.
All right. Please do, bro. I appreciate that.
All right. Much respect, man. Much respect.
Bless.
Mr. Johnson, Martin Nash here from Breaking Beats. Sorry. Last two questions. One, how did you get your nickname? I don't know if you ever told that story online, but can you tell people how you got your nickname? And then I'll follow with my second question after that.
Yeah. Well, you know, I had two nicknames, and both of them was given to me by a reporter. My first nickname was Gentleman Glen Johnson, and a reporter said that, you know, he talked to a lot of fighters and athletes and stuff, and he really thought that the way how I conduct myself, I was a true gentleman, and all of these things, and you know, a lot of things, nice things he was saying, and I fell in love with what he was saying, so I named myself Gentleman Glen Johnson. Um, and then some years later, another reporter was interviewing me, and he was asking me a bunch of questions, and he was like, you know, man, you fight all over the world. You go in everybody's backyard and you fight all of these tough fighters. Man, you like the road warrior. You know, and I was like, the road warrior. And I went back to my manager and I told him, I said, I want to change my name from Gentleman Glen Johnson to the road warrior. And he was like, no, why are you? Because, you know, everybody love Gentleman Glen Johnson. Nobody have that, blah, blah. And I'm like, nah, I think I like the road warrior better because it suits me. I'm always on the road. I'm fighting in all of these different places. And I just like the sound of it. I like the warrior part of it, and the road, you know, the road warrior, being on the road all the time was a factual thing. So, and I like the warrior part in there. So I fell in love with that name. So I stuck with it.
Last question, cause I know you're busy, man.
Both of those names.
Right. Last question, cause I know you're very busy. You fought a lot of guys, champions, Hall of Famers, win, lose, draw, or robbery. You faced everybody damn near, right? But I got to ask you for that hot take now. I got to get you on this hot take. I want a little controversy.
Okay.
It's not trying to bring up old bad blood, but I want you to right here on Major Key and Mark Nash Breaking Beats. I want you to tell us who ducked Glen Johnson, who didn't want that smoke.
Oh, there was quite a few.
Come on, drop them names, Glen Johnson. Let us know, baby.
He didn't want that smoke. He ducked me. We had
who?
to fight, and he ducked all 3 dates. He find reasons to pull out.
Who? Say the name again.
Joe Kazagi in England.
Woo. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, he definitely didn't want no smoke. We had 3 dates, 3 different dates, and he pulled out of all 3 of them. Signed contract to fight and everything, and he pulled out. So yeah, he definitely didn't want no smoke. And then
that was pre-COVID. That was before COVID.
Yeah,
that's way before COVID.
Man, I run from you like Duffy, man, and run from you like Duffy.
Who else who didn't want to rump and bumble clock with you? You know, that's a terrible accent. I tried though. Don't judge.
Well, the other person was in Canada. What's his name?
Pascal.
John Pascal. We tried many times to get a fight with him, and he didn't want to fight either. And then I mean, the only other person that I didn't get to fight that was in my era is James Toney, because he moved up to heavyweight. He didn't want. He ate himself out of the division and went up to heavyweight. So, but those are the 3 guys. I never tried to fight James Toney, so because he was already heavyweight by the time I was able to make a name for myself. But John Pascal, I tried to fight him many times. He didn't want any. And Joe Kazagi, we had 3 dates to fight, and he didn't want any. So, those are the 2 guys for sure. And 3 in total that I didn't get to fight in my era. So that's it. I can't think of anyone else that I didn't fight. I think I fought everybody else.
I appreciate you answering that so candidly. I'll pass it back to Major Key because, like I said, we respect your time and we don't want to keep you too long here because you might not want to come back. So we're gonna respect your time, and the next time you come, we're gonna keep you here for about 2 hours.
So first and foremost, man, shout out to, of course, everybody in the chat, everybody in the panel, but tell everybody where to find you first and foremost before I give my closing thoughts.
I mean, you know, I'm Glen Johnson Boxer on the Instagram, and that's my only outlet. I don't really have much social media. That's my only outlet that I have is Instagram.
So Glen Johnson the Boxer and Instagram.
Yeah, just Glen Johnson Boxer. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Perfect, brother. So hopefully everybody here go ahead and follow Glen Johnson, the Road Warrior. You know what I mean? But listen, man, I want to also say, man, apologies to everybody that Kelly Pavlik didn't show up. But you know, we already had Glen Johnson booked. He was already on the schedule. I spoke to him about a month ago. A man of his word, he showed up. I just recently connected with Kelly Pavlik. He confirmed last night, so it's not my fault. But he didn't show up today, so you know it is what it is. But Glen Johnson did, and we have more questions for him. So I'm just happy that it worked out that way anyway, because we were able to get more out of Glen Johnson. So it is what it is, and I appreciate you, brother. You know what I'm saying? It is. You're always welcome on the platform, like Troy said. And we're all gonna pass it off to Mark Nash. Everybody go to the after party at Mark Nash, MarqNash, and go ahead and make sure you support the brother over there. And I appreciate you, Glen Johnson, again, man. Hey, salute to you, brother. Thank you, man. Thank you.
Take care.
The Road Warrior in the building, man. I'll talk to you gentlemen all later, man. Shout out to everybody that joined.
Much respect. All right.
All right, so we're gonna take it over there. We'll do the recap of the interview, open up the panel fully. Everybody can give their take on what y'all thought of the interview. Did we ask good questions? Did we ask bad questions? Questions that you guys thought we should have asked that we didn't? All that and more starting right now.
All right, brother. Thank you so much.
Yep.